Happy Easter, everyone.
Happy Easter, everyone, and Mrs. Conan.
What? Who is that? Oh my goodness! It's Bubba Dubba! Boys and girls, this is Bubba Dubba. He's an old friend of mine. Bubba, I haven't seen you since my kids were those kids' ages.
Really?
Where have you been?
I've been all over the world. I've been like dancing in Denmark. I was bowling in Belgium. I was painting in Paris. I've been all over this world. It's been fun.
I'm really glad to see you. I've really missed you, Bubba. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
Bubba, I hope you're going easy on the candy today because your teeth are looking pretty rough.
What? I just went to the dentist 15 years ago.
No wonder. Hey, Bubba, you're just here just in time because I was getting ready to read one of my favorite Easter stories to the kids in here. Would you like to listen to the story too?
Oh, may I please? That'll be super fantastic.
Awesome. Great.
And you're really pretty. I'll just go sit down.
That was so unscripted, Bubba. Okay, boys and girls, this is called The Little Rose of Sharon. You know it's one of my favorite books. And this is actually a story. It's fiction. It's like a folk tale. This author, Nan Gurley, just was thinking about how sometimes Jesus Christ is called the Rose of Sharon, and she came up with this folk tale. But there is one part in this book that is very, very true. So listen as I read and see if you can pick up the part that actually happened. Spring came to the newly made world, and every day a certain little rose grew taller and more beautiful. Surely the Creator will be proud of me, she hoped, as the color deepened in her petals. The little rose watched as the hills and valleys of Sharon came to life. Daffodils grew on the hillside, almond trees bloomed full and white, and the sweet smell of myrtle blossoms filled the air. As the large green trees on the fig tree above her danced gently in the breeze, the little rose looked up and saw a dove sitting on a nest made of twigs and grass. Inside the nest was a tiny white egg. While the mother dove flew over the hillside looking for seeds and nuts, the father dove sat on the egg and made soft cooing sounds. Someday, very soon, thought the little rose, the baby dove will hatch out of its egg. Early one morning, as the sun peeked over the eastern sky, the little rose saw the Creator. He was walking through the cool grass, looking at all his trees and flowers. Sometimes he would stop for a moment and listen to a bird's song, or sit in the shade of an olive tree and watch the sheep grazing on the distant hills. The little rose stood straight and tall and opened her petals as far as she could. She hoped the Creator would notice her as he walked by. Soon he came walking toward her. Surely the Creator will be pleased with my beautiful petals, she thought happily. Then the Creator stood before her. For a long time he looked down at her deep red petals and smiled. Before he turned to go, he bent down and breathed her sweet smell. The little rose felt her heart would burst for joy. He noticed me, she thought, and he smiled at me. Truly, he must think I am beautiful. Later that evening, as she drifted off to sleep, the little rose was still remembering the smile of the Creator. During the night, a storm rolled in from the Mediterranean Sea. The wind howled through the trees, and the rain beat on the shrubs and the flowers. The little rose bent and swayed in the storm. She was frightened of losing her petals. As the rain beat against her, she held on to her petals with all her strength. Finally, the storm ended. When the morning light filled the sky, the little rose was proud to see that none of her petals had fallen to the ground. But when she looked down, she saw a white shape on the ground below her. It was the tiny dove's egg nestled deeply in the grass. It must have fallen out of the nest during the storm, she thought. Surely the mother and father dove will find it. She wished she could call out to them and tell them where the egg was lying, but she could only watch as the doves flew back and forth, looking for the egg and making sad and mournful sounds. All day the doves searched for the tiny egg, but they never saw it in the grass beneath the rose. When the sky began to darken, the doves flew back to the branches of the fig tree. If the egg is not kept warm, the baby dove inside it will die, thought the little rose, as the cool evening breeze began to blow. She was sad to think that the baby dove might never break out of its shell and learn to fly. If only I could keep it warm. As the moon slowly rose in the sky, covering the earth with a silver light, the little rose thought of the only way she could keep the egg warm through the chilly night. One by one, she dropped her petals and covered the tiny white dove's egg. When the last one fell, the rose petal blanket was complete. The little rose fell asleep to the mournful cooing of the doves. Early the next morning, the little rose was wakened by tiny chirping sounds. What could it be, she wondered. And then she noticed the smallest movement beneath the fallen petals. Suddenly, a tiny dove's beak poked out from beneath the rose petal blanket. The baby dove is alive, she thought with joy as the chirping grew louder. The mother and the father heard the baby dove and flew down from the fig tree. The little rose watched as they lifted their baby from the rose petals and carried it back to their nest. Later that morning, as the little rose was listening to the gentle cooing of the doves, she saw the Creator walking on the hillside. Oh dear, she thought, I hope he doesn't notice me. Without my petals, I am no longer beautiful. The little rose was so ashamed she looked down, but when the Creator stood before her, he gently reached out and touched her stem. You have given all you had to save the life of the baby dove, said the Creator. The little rose felt warm inside at the sound of his voice. One day, when my son lives on this earth, he too will give everything he has. The little rose looked up into the gentle eyes of the Creator. Because of the love you have shown for the baby dove, I will call my son the Rose of Sharon, for he too will give everything he has and show the world my love. The Creator tenderly touched her stem once more as he walked on through the hillside. The little rose joyfully lifted her face to the warm light of the sun. Boys and girls, did you figure out what that part was? That little rose gave everything she had for that little dove and saved it. And Jesus Christ was God, and he came down and he became a human, God in flesh, and he gave everything he had to give, his whole life, and rose again so that we could be with him someday in heaven. What did you think of the story, Bubba?
That was so beautiful. I love the words and the pictures, even though I couldn't see anything, but the whole thing was just beautiful. I'm verklempt.
Oh, I'm so glad you enjoyed it. Do you love Jesus, Bubba?
I do. Me and Jesus are like this.
Oh, that's really good.
Lord Jesus.
Well, happy Easter. Christ is risen.
He's risen indeed.
Happy
Easter.